You're live streaming now, Chairman, so ready to start when you are.
Right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Cabinet meeting of North Norfolk District Council of the 12th of April 2021. I am chairing this committee today as Deputy Leader of the Council. I am Councillor Eric Seawood. Emma, can I first receive any apologies of absence? I understand there's two.
I've just received apologies from Councillor Buttercofer, Chairman.
But there's also apologies from Councillor Lucy Shires, who has a medical appointment this morning.
Right, thank you.
Right, I now move on to the next item. It is with great sadness that the Council heard of the death of His Royal Highness Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, on Friday. On behalf of all members and officers of North Norfolk District Council, I would like to express our deepest sympathies to Her Majesty, the Queen, and the Royal Family on the death of His Royal Highness Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh. Could I please have a minute's silence? Okay, thank you very much, members. Right, I'll just add a few more words. The legacy that Prince Philip leaves us is enormous. The Duke of Edinburgh's award, which he founded in 1956, has inspired generations of young people to help others and instilled in them a vision for citizenship and a desire to serve their communities, and a trailblazer ahead of his time, championing conservation, along with his commitment to raising awareness for the future of our planet. As we move into the period of recovery from the pandemic, we will need fortitude and a deep sense of commitment to serving others. Throughout his life, Prince Philip displayed those qualities in abundance. Let's take inspiration from the example he provided. Thank you. Right, we now move on to public questions and statements. Emma, I'm advised that we have no public questions and statements.
That's correct, Chairman.
Thank you. Do we have any items of urgent business? I'm not aware that we do.
No, none received.
Mr. Chairman, excuse me, I think you have forgotten the minutes.
Thank you. Yes, we will do with that now. Thank you. Right, can I now just go through the minutes, please? Right, page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, and page 6. I don't see any comments. Can I please have somebody to move a recommendation that we approve those minutes? Right, Councillor Kershaw, can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Lloyd, thank you, and my apologies for admitting that. Right, do we have any declarations of interest? Do we have any members' questions that won't be asked in the item on the agenda? I can't see anything. Right, agenda item 7, recommendations from Planning Policy and the Built Heritage Working Party. Councillor Toy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, this is we have a duty to cooperate to ensure best practice across boundaries with adjoining areas. This is a review that goes on continuously. We need to agree to continue to do this. It's important that we do it. It saves us money as well when joint projects are taken on. And this has been through the working party and been reviewed. And I recommend that we've moved this forward. So I propose that we take up the recommendations. Thank you.
Sorry, Councillor Fitch-Tillett.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm more than happy to second this, particularly looking at the interaction between surface water flooding, fire water drainage, and of course, coastal management. As you probably recall, I was a member for the statutory 10 years of the Regional Flood and Coastal Committee. And as such, the fact that we are going to have a closer cooperation in respect of surface water in particular, I am more than happy to second this.
Thank you very much. Do I have any further comments? Can't see any. Right, can we please move to the vote on that? All those in favour, please. Right, that's unanimous. Thank you very much. Right, 8 recommendations from the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Councillor Dixon.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Chairman and everyone. Yes, there is the one recommendation from our meeting on the 24th of February. I would like to give you some contextual background to this recommendation, which is worded a little differently from normal. Mr. Chairman, you will know that this matter started in December of 2019 when it was agreed to revise and review and revise this policy. It was progress chased a year later, and I saw a draft in an early draft in February of this year, which wasn't ready for overview and scrutiny to pre-scrutinize. We had a slot in our programme for that, but it was therefore deferred to the overview and scrutiny in March. There was much concern expressed in the discussions, and I think you, Mr. Chairman, were present and contributed to those, so I won't labour those. It was a review of a policy which morphed into a strategy, and from that point onwards, there's a lack of clarity over structural and issues of content, all I think linked to the core purpose of the document. There's still much work to be done, and hence the recommendation is worded the way it is. You'll notice emphasis there that the pre-scrutiny it recommends that it is progressed through the next stages of the development and subject to the consideration of amendments suggested by the committee. That's a little different from the way we would normally make a recommendation to you. Finally, this review has consumed considerable resource so far. Isn't there merit in having a common core template document developed for all councils to then customise for individual needs, and that would surely cut down on the resource implications for all councils, not just this one. So I wonder if there's something else that we might like to pursue with regard to this. That concludes my submissions to you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I note the last point you made, and I'm sure officers will see whether such things exist. My understanding is that officers are working now on a finalised document which will reflect what was said at overview and scrutiny, and hopefully we can bring that to the next cabinet meeting. I haven't got any further comment. We now move on to item 9, recommendations from Government Risk and Audit Committee. Councillor Rest, do you wish to add anything to the recommendations? I've just seen an email to say that we might have missed something off the bottom of those recommendations.
Indeed, we have, Chairman. Thank you. Good morning. Maybe this is an opportunity. If I could ask Emma to read the recommendations, it might help them for the members of the public that are listening as well. It's just missed off the end paragraph. So, Emma, if you're able to just read those recommendations, I think it would be helpful, please.
Yes, of course. So the margin was slightly cut off when it was published on the agenda. So just for clarity, it should read, first recommendation to recommend that all members of Cabinet receive a copy of the final report of the assurance review. Second recommendation, that Cabinet reviews the Council's project governance framework to ensure that it is robust enough to address the concerns raised by the assurance review at the special meeting of Governance, Risk and Audit Committee on 25th of March 2021. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you very much. Sorry, Eric. Thank you very much. I think that sort of explains what that is. I have no further comments, Chairman. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, I intervened too quickly there.
No, fine.
Right, as I just remind, I can confirm that all members of the Cabinet have received a copy of the full report. And of course, at the last Cabinet meeting, we did improve strengthening the project governance arrangements. Councillor Gay.
Thank you, Chairman. If I may just add a few words to what Councillor Rest has said. As you said, we did review the project governance framework, and the minutes which we've just approved demonstrate that. As to the recommendations arising out of the audit, we've already begun to address these. First of all, Constitution Working Party, when it met in February, recommended the adoption of the LGA Model Code of Conduct. This proposal will go to the next meeting of the Standards Committee, and it's our hope that the code will be adopted, not only in North Norfolk, but throughout the county. And one of its effects will be to broaden the definition of a member's interests. Secondly, the Constitution Working Party has considered the matter of exemptions and procurement because these procedures are laid down within our Constitution. And there's an ongoing audit report into these, and we shall have an update on this report tomorrow's meeting. And lastly, arising out of all this, there's the question of members' attendance at exempt or private meetings, because again, there's wording about this within our Constitution. So I've requested that that too is on the agenda tomorrow for Constitution Working Party. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you for that, Councillor Gay. I can't see any further comments from anyone at the moment. So I don't think, Emma, that we have to approve anything at this stage, do we?
You do just need to agree whether you accept the recommendations that are coming through from.
Right. So you would like you'd like a vote on that?
Yes, please.
Right. Can I have all those in favour of accepting the recommendations, please? Right. That's unanimous. Thank you very much, members. Right. If we can now move on to item 10, North Norfolk District Council's actions in the recovery phase of the coronavirus pandemic. Can I ask the Chief Executive, Steve Blatch, to take us through this? Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, members. The report is before you. It details the actions of the authority in the period of the first 3 months of 2021 in responding to the COVID pandemic. Numbers relatively of cases was very high at the turn of the year, and so the council did have to take some additional steps to advise local communities where the numbers were highest through additional messaging and signage, etc. From the very high peak of the 4th of January, which when we had 442 cases in the district, we have seen a very rapid and steady decline since the middle of since that date, and then since the middle of February, the numbers have tailed off, and I'm pleased to be able to report that the 7-day rolling average as of the 6th of April was 6 cases, or 5.7 per 100,000 population. meaning that the district is in one of the lowest in the country. So I think that is testament to the strength of adherence by our communities to the government restrictions. It also is, I believe, due to the very high rates of take-up of the vaccine by our elderly population, and we are one of the districts with the highest average age in the country. So many, a large number of our population were able to take advantage of the vaccine in those 1 to 9 priority cohorts announced by the government. So over 65% of the district's population has now had a first vaccination, and many people in those older age groups have had a second vaccination in recent days. As the national roadmap was outlined and the authority has responded to those government announcements, we have seen a opening up of the economy, initially slowly, but as of today, nationally, non-essential retail, personal contact services, hairdressers, that sort of thing, have been able to reopen, as well as self-catering independent serviced accommodation. And we look forward to welcoming visitors back to our high streets and to the district, residents and tourist visitors. Looking forward, we are making arrangements to accommodate large numbers of visitors in the district in the coming months. The level of the uncertainty around foreign travel continues, with the government expected to announce or make further announcements on the 17th of May. But demand for staycation holidays is very strong across all accommodation sectors in North Norfolk. Operators are reporting very high levels of demand and bookings, such that we need to prepare the district to accommodate large numbers of visitors throughout the summer. So we are maintaining our fogging of public conveniences and high-touch surface areas. We are continuing to recruit and retain our COVID support officers who will be available to advise or provide advice to businesses on reopening in the coming weeks and to manage large numbers of visitors over the summer. We're also looking at additional litter bins and trying to secure additional temporary parking in peak locations over the peak weeks of the summer. And we continue to advise businesses on reopening, particularly with regards to outdoor drinking and dining, which obviously the government is promoting in terms of the continued promotion of the hands, face, space and fresh air messages. We are in a good place in terms of the arrangements we've made for the elections to be held on the 6th of May, and we are continuing to promote surveillance testing through local businesses and employers, such that particularly in the food and hospitality sector, there will be many young people who will be some of the last to be vaccinated. And in terms of business continuity for those businesses and assurance to customers, we believe that businesses who undertake regular workplace testing will be given assurance that levels of transmission locally are minimised as far as possible. And I think we can look forward with confidence to a busy summer season in the coming weeks and months. I'm happy to take any questions, Chair.
Does anybody have any questions or comments? Councillor Toy, then Councillor Kershaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just all I want to say was a thank you to Steve and all the officers of the council that continue to work diligently and deliver safety for us all. I think it's been outstanding work, and their preparations for what's to come with the visitors. I think we've done some good work there, considering our demographic and how we have this influx of people every time there's a gap. I think that to keep us in the lower numbers where they have has been truly outstanding, and thank you to them. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Kershaw.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to add to what Councillor Toy said. I've been working with Steve and Gold on this for the last 3 to 4 months, and it's been noticeable how quickly the council have been proactively to engage. They've responded to every request from CCG, Public Health England, and it has been appreciated by those institutions how well North Norfolk Council has behaved, and the planning going into the summer I think is thorough and well thought out. And it's worth noting how well the wardens are performing. They're sensible, they're engaging with people, and as a result we are benefiting from one of the lowest numbers of outbreaks. So thanks to the officers, it's been superb. Thank you.
Right, thank you. I don't see anybody else wishing to make any comment. So we're just asked to note and comment upon this report. Can I have all of those in favour, please? Well, thank you very much, members. That was unanimous. Right, we now move on to the Community Renewal Fund, and I'll just introduce this briefly and then ask the Chief Executive to add any further comments. This is about making a bid for the Community Renewal Fund, and Norfolk, or North Norfolk, is one of the 100 priority areas that can bid for this fund. There is 4 districts in Norfolk that can do so: Great Yarmouth, Kings Lynn and Norwich. And the sum of money in this particular fund is £220 million. The bids have to be in by the lead authority, which is the County Council, by the 18th of June. And it's possible that up to £3 million could be supported under this fund. It has 90% of it is revenue, 10% is capital, and the money has to be spent by the end of March this year. So time is short to make the bid, and if we are successful, then we have barely 9 months in which to actually develop projects and spend the funding. I do think it's important that North Norfolk District Council seizes this opportunity and works with the County Council and the local members of Parliament in progressing this. Residents will not, in practical terms, see anything from this at the moment, because this is a medium to long-term project. But what it is doing is getting the preparatory work done to help and support housing and economic growth in future in both North Horsham and Fakenham. And if we're actually able to do that, then we will be well placed to make bids for future funding that could be available from the Levelling Up programme and also from the UK Shared Prosperity Fund, which comes into being in 2022. As a North Horsham member, my view is that if we are successful with this bid, then most certainly in terms of the preparatory work that needs to be done in North Horsham, in terms of dealing with the projected growth in the town, this should go a long way to ensuring that we have the funding available to actually get on and do this work, and that is very welcome. Steve, would you like to add anything as Chief Executive?
Thank you, Chairman, for that introduction to this report. This is a big opportunity for North Norfolk to be one of the 100 priority places identified by the government under the Community Renewal Fund, such that we need to take advantage of the opportunities that is presented to us. Many other authorities on that 100 priority place list already have strategic boards in place because they are recipient of funds through the Town Deal or Future High Street Fund. And we don't have any such mechanism or infrastructure in place to support the development and oversight of applications or project proposals under this fund. So there is a recommendation, recommendation 3, that in order to realise the opportunities, it's suggested that we establish a strategic stakeholder board of key partners, as well as steering groups in both North Horsham and Fakenham to take this work forward, and that we should seek to establish those steering groups and that board as a matter of priority, so that those partners are aware of the opportunities and can endorse our proposals before their submission to the County Council as the lead body in May, to allow for a period of discussion, refinement and negotiation on those proposals before submission to government in the middle of June. The opportunities that we believe present themselves through this programme are identified for North Walsham and Fakenham on the basis that they are envisaged through both the existing and the emerging local plan as locations for strategic growth, both housing and economic and employment opportunities, also seeking to retain services and facilities in those locations as service centres for extensive rural hinterlands and communities. It would be proposed that the list of projects that we seek to develop, as the Chairman has said, 90% of the fund is through revenue projects, would seek to build capacity, undertake some feasibility studies, and hopefully position both of those communities in a strong place to bid for future funding through both the Levelling Up and UK Shared Prosperity funding in future years. So the issue that I'd like to highlight is, as I say, recommendation 3, particularly with regards to the establishment of a strategic oversight or stakeholder board and the 2 steering groups, one in North Walsham and one in Fakenham, to realise these opportunities. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Right, do I have any comments or questions from members? Councillor Kershaw, then Councillor Cushing.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to actually thank the Chief Executive for the speed with which this report has been put together. It's complicated, but he was on it right from the inception. I think it's a fair proposal. I'm glad to see that this goes across North Norfolk for the benefit of North Norfolk, and I would happily recommend to Cabinet colleagues that we accept this and all the 3 recommendations. Thank you.
Councillor Cushing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As a Fakenham member, I certainly welcome this as well. I have some questions, if I may, for the Chief Executive around the strategic board. Can you give us an idea about what individuals or roles you would expect to participate in that board, and also the same for the steering groups, and any idea about the deadline for which you'd aim to have those up and running?
Thank you, Councillor Cushing. So the strategic board is intended to operate at a district-wide level. It would involve lead members from each group, the 2 MPs and representatives of the economic business sector and environmental sector particularly, possibly also education. So we're probably looking at a board, if we look at the town deal boards, of up to 24 members, but we obviously need that to be a manageable size. In terms of the 2 steering groups, that would draw extensively from those communities, so town councils, chambers of trade, as I say, education, voluntary sector and the environmental sector in each of the towns, probably of a similar size, up to a couple of dozen people on those boards, steering groups. It would be proposed that the district council would be able to support those through providing secretariat services in terms of the administration of meetings, and we would look to establish those imminently. There is an email prepared to go out to those town councils following this meeting, assuming that the recommendations are supported. We'd be looking at having a first meeting before the end of the month of the steering groups and of the strategic board.
Okay, just a quick supplemental. In terms of the steering boards, who would they report into the strategic stakeholder board or directly into the council?
They would be reporting up through the strategic steering board.
Lovely. Okay, lovely. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right. I mean, it would be my wish certainly that local district council members, there will clearly be some involvement in these steering groups in both North Walsham and Fakenham, and certainly I would expect them to be kept informed and consulted as work on these bids and developments take place. Councillor Rest.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you, Chairman. I was going to ask, but the Chief Executive has answered the question for me, so I'm not going to repeat it again, but thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Do I have any further comments or questions? I can't see any. Right, well, Councillor Kershaw has proposed that we accept these recommendations. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Toy. Right, all those in favour? That's unanimous. Okay, thank you, members. Right, the next one is the Fakenham Urban Extension, the A148 roundabout. Can I ask the Chief Executive, please, to introduce this?
Thank you, Chairman. Well, I suppose taking a lead from the previous report, this provides an opportunity almost in advance of the objectives of the Community Renewal and Shared Prosperity Funds. So this is a piece of critical infrastructure to support the early delivery of the Fakenham Urban Extension. There are planning conditions around those 900 homes and 7 hectares of new employment land to the north of the town that have been proposed for development for a considerable period of time through the local plan. And this paper details the fact that the council has been successful through the Director of Resources in securing funds through the Norfolk Business Rate Pool and the Norfolk Strategic Fund, and seeks to place the management and delivery of this project in the context of the council's new corporate governance and project management framework. So those £900,000 of funds have been secured through those two sources. Conversations are now being had with the landowner, agent and developer following approval of an outline planning consent in December of last year. And this seeks to deliver this project over the next 18 to 24 months. And as the project delivers additional public funding into the delivery of this scheme, there is an opportunity through the planning section 106 agreement that's been established to review the affordable housing provision that might be otherwise delivered if the original planning consent was approved on the basis of a viability study which established affordable housing at a level that was below the council's policy, but on the basis of or recognising the significant investment required in strategic infrastructure to deliver this quantum of housing, such that a lower level of affordable housing has been provided or secured. And if we now secure or deliver public funds into that infrastructure up front, that lowers or minimises or reduces the risk to the landowner and developer, such that there is an opportunity for us to revisit the affordable housing secured through the development in the medium term. So this is where the council needs to demonstrate its community leadership objectives and principles. This is the type of project I would envisage that could come forward in future years through the Shared Prosperity Fund if we undertake feasibility studies for critical infrastructure and enabling infrastructure through the Community Renewal Fund as per the report that you've just discussed. I'm happy to take any questions if there are any. Thank you.
Councillor Cushing and then Councillor Toy. Councillor Cushing.
Thank you again, Mr. Chairman. Again, thank you. This is very good news indeed. So I'm very pleased to hear this. I'm also pleased to note that we may get a slight increase in the number of affordable homes, which would be very welcome in the town. One question I just really have around the timing of the Chief Executive in terms of developing a roundabout. Is that dependent on the sale of Trinity selling the first tranche of land in order to develop the infrastructure, or can the roundabout be developed in its own right and then Trinity follow on after with its infrastructure development?
I believe the roundabout can be delivered first. I think the Trinity College, having secured planning permission, is now in discussions with one or more developers around taking phased blocks of land. I don't think it's their intention to develop the site out themselves, but the way the planning application is structured. There is a requirement for some phased delivery of infrastructure, the roundabout, and an element of the main road estate spine road, I think, through the development is required to be delivered early on in that phasing. And as I said, in respect of introducing this, the early construction of the roundabout de-risks or minimises the risk in terms of that condition through early delivery.
Thank you.
Right, Councillor Toy, then Councillor Rest. Councillor Toy?
I think you might be frozen, Chair.
Frozen, Eric.
Right, okay, I'll take Councillor Rest first then.
Thank you, Chairman. Really, just to endorse what Councillor Cushing has said, it is a wonderful opportunity, and it's good to hear actually that let's get on with it and at least get the roundabout built, because I think when people start to visit and come down through the area and see what's going on, to see that kind of infrastructure being put into place, then it makes them, we are committed, and hopefully the developers will also make sure that they are committed as well. So really all I would say, you know, I would urge the Cabinet to support this recommendation. Thank you.
Right, have we lost Councillor Toy?
I think he's dropped out. He's obviously going to try and rejoin, Chair.
Right. Yeah, I can only endorse that once people actually see things happening, then rather than councils talking about things, they actually believe that you're either going to do something to improve their town and their area. Right, Councillor Kershaw.
I was just going to say, I fully endorse this. I've been working on this with John. If John can't get back in, I'm happy to propose acceptance of this proposal. Thank you.
Right, can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Lloyd. Right, all those in favour? Okay, thank you very much, members. Right, item 13, Information, Advice and Advocacy Service. Councillor Gay.
Thank you, Chairman. You will remember that in March 2020, Cabinet resolved to review our information, advice and guidance services. That review took place in December, and this is the result. It's the product of careful analysis and long discussion with citizens' advice. And I'd like to record my appreciation of citizens' advice for their support in this. The intention here is to maintain our information, advice, guidance services, and to also maintain a face-to-face service across our district from citizens' advice, and to address the fact that we're not serving younger people in our community as well as we might do. And that's the thinking behind these proposals, which are before you. And I hope that you support them. Thank you.
Right, do I have any further comments? I can't see any. It's all right, John, pleased to see you back. Right, so you're formally moving the recommendations, are you, Councillor Gay?
Yes, I am.
Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Toy. Right, all those in favour? Right, that's unanimous. Thank you very much, members. Right, and now move on to the next one, which is item 14. This is Public Space Protection Orders Review and Consultation. Councillor Lloyd.
Thank you, Chair. These public space protection orders came into force on the 1st of May 2018, following a wide consultation, and they actually expire on the 1st of May 2021 and are before us today for renewal. A further consultation began in March of this year, and that will run until the end of this week. I'd like to point out to Cabinet members that without these orders, the councillors, that this council has no authority to legally enforce and controlled dog activities in the district. We are proposing no change in our current position on these orders and the current orders in place. And with respect to this agenda item, I recommend approval to Cabinet. Thank you.
Right. Councillor Hayman, and then there are two Environmental Services officers present today, so I will then ask if they've got any comment. Councillor Hayman.
Yes, I'm happy to second this proposal. Whilst it's a renewal, I think it's coming at a very timely moment, just as we open up again with access to our beaches and public spaces and more people coming in over the summer. But it's vitally important that, that dog owners particularly respect and recognise these orders. We don't want littering and we don't want dog mess littering because of the environmental and health hazards that it, they provide. And also, we want to show that this is a good place for visitors to come. It's clean, it's safe, our beaches are good, that responsible dog owners are very, very welcome. But we reinforce the fact that these orders are in place, that we can take enforcement action if necessary if people refuse to adhere to them.
Right, I've got two officers present. I've got Emily and James. Emily Capps or James Ashby, do you wish to add anything?
Thank you, Chair. I have nothing further to add to what's already been said by Councillor Lloyd, really. They're a like-for-like replacement of the existing dog control orders within the district, the district-wide dog fouling order, and then the specific ones relating to dogs on leads and dog bans on certain beaches. It's important to recognise that the bans on beaches are crucial to our blue flag status in those areas. The blue flag status sets out in its criteria that dogs should be not allowed in bathing areas between May and September. So this provision allows officers to enforce those restrictions. Nothing further to add unless James has anything. Thank you. Happy to take questions.
No, I think Emily sort of summarised essentially. As I say, I'm in agreement with Emily as well in terms of the specific details.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any further comment on this? Right. So Councillor Lloyd has proposed that we approve this, the recommendation. Could I have a seconder, please? Councillor Hayman. Right, all those in favour? Right, thank you very much, members. That's unanimous. Right. Next item is item 15, council activity in relation to the regulation of Regulatory Powers Act 2000. Have we got any officers present this morning, Chief Executive, on this? Or is it
Mr. Hems is available, Chair.
Right, okay. Steve Hems, if you'd just like to say anything on this.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this is an update for members in respect of the use of the powers that the authority has under the Regulation of Investigatory Powers Act. We have not, in the period this year, used, or since the last update, used the powers on any occasions. So the requirement is effectively for directed surveillance and for the use of what are called covert human intelligence sources, that the authority should authorise those through a defined process in the Act and then get those agreed at court. So in terms of that, we have not used those powers at all. That's because we use alternative methods of investigation. The reason that those methods of directed surveillance are controlled is on the basis that they are the most intrusive. So we seek to use alternative methods of investigation to investigate offences, etc. The other part of the update relates to the policy. And so we have had recently, in February, a inspection on the part of IPCO, who are the people who the independent body who do the assessment of how authorities are compliant with the requirements placed in the code of practice, etc. That inspection went well, and we've had a letter from the inspector to say so. What they have identified is a number of minor updates to our policy that we will make in due course. Part of the previous recommendations that we had was around training. That was booked in for last May. However, for obvious reasons, in terms of training around the COVID situation, we weren't able to complete that. But if that is then has been booked in further for this May. And one of the reasons we are just delaying the changes to our policy that have been highlighted is because the training provider that we use also provides us with a degree of expertise and advice and checks our policy changes. So we will make those changes to the policy, get them checked by the expert training provider that we use, and then those will come into effect. I'm happy to take any questions from members on the remainder of the report, but I think I've covered the main salient points for you.
Thank you for that contribution. Does any members have any questions or comments? Councillor Toy.
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Steve. Yeah, just comments really that it's pleasing. You know, we need to have these authorities for some of the things that we need to do through enforcement. But it's also pleasing to note that we've not needed to use them. That we find much better ways of not being so hard with some of the things that we need to deal with during this, particularly during this difficult time. So no, I would like to just propose the recommendations, Chairman. Thank you.
Right, do I have a seconder? Councillor Kershaw. I don't see any other comments. People want to make comments, so I therefore ask if we can take the vote on the basis of renewing these orders. All those in favour, please. Right, that's unanimous. Thank you very much, members. Right. Now we then move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the disposal of a property. Can I just remind members that the detail of this is below the line, so if there are comments or questions in relation to that, I will have to take those in private session. Cara, would you like to introduce this and just assure us whether or not the negotiations in relation to the disposal of this property have reached the stage where we can agree to it?
Thank you, Chairman. As in the report, the council has acquired a property under a voluntary arrangement following non-compliance with an urgent works notice. Following a feasibility study, officers have supported disposal of the property and bring it to Cabinet, recommending that you approve the disposal of the property. An offer was made some time ago. There's no information to suggest there's any uncertainty there. That's the update for you, Chairman.
Right, so on the basis of that advice, we are actually able to agree to approve the disposal of the property today. Do I have any comments or questions? I can't see any. Right, can I have, I will propose this. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Kershaw. Right, all those in favour? Right, that is unanimous. I have no items of business to exclude the press or the public or private business, and therefore at 10 to 11 this morning, I bring this meeting to an end. I would like to thank everybody for their contributions. For those of us that had a further meeting on business planning, that meeting, given that we can have a 10-minute break and start at 11 o'clock. Thank you very much.